And we're going to start, obviously, by welcoming all of you fabulous people joining us on a Wednesday morning. Thank you so much.
Gail, do you want me to put up the PowerPoint?
I think I can do it right. I think I had it ready to go. So I'm going to just share my screen. Whoops.
You should be able to.
Well, okay. Share screen. Okay. And from the beginning. Okay, can everybody see this? Yes, okay, yay, success. We love success. Okay. So now if I can just figure out how to move forward. Welcome to our conversations about leadership and the very first one. So you are all very special being here, the very first one. Berta and I are co-hosts, and we will interchange in each session. And as we go forward, some sessions I'll be the primary speaker, some sessions she'll be the primary speaker.
And but mostly some sessions you will be the primary speakers, right?
Yes, that was just coming out of my mouth. So we have a few ground, now there's no stepping on toes here. We have a few ground rules. And the very first one is there are no wrong answers. There are no, speak your mind. This is a safe place. Let's be cordial and civil, but we're here to share our opinions. So please, please do that. Please be forthcoming. I am going to suggest that we stay on mute unless we're speaking. And I know that that sometimes can be a little difficult because somebody will start speaking without being on mute, but still it saves us toilet flushes and dog barking. So I think let's try that and see how it works. If you have a very quiet environment and you feel comfortable not being on mute, I'm okay with that. I'm going to ask that you raise your hand to speak if you're on video. If you're not on video, then please just speak up and we'll get you interjected. You can ask questions in the chat, either rhetorical questions or maybe questions you want to put in a parking lot or whatever. So you can do that, and we'll be monitoring that to be on that. And then we just ask that you be concise in your answers so everybody gets an opportunity to chat. Without getting too far ahead of ourselves, I want to just invite you to join us for every one of these that you can as we move forward. We've staggered the days and times in the hopes that people can jump in over the course of the next 5 months. For those of you who've seen the flyer, we've proposed a lot of topics. You could view those as tentative, because if the conversation goes in another direction, we are totally prepared to do that as long as we haven't gone off the leadership cliff. We're going to just try not to let that constrain the direction of our conversations, but to guide them, if that makes sense. So that being said, we are going to start with an introduction of participants, and I'm going to try and call on you. I'd like you to do your name, club, how long you've been in Rotary, and a very brief description of why you chose to join us today. I'm going to start with Richard Forster.
Good morning, everybody. Richard Forster, Rotary Club of Ione. Ione's down in Amador County, one of 5 clubs. So I've been in Rotary for 20 years, and I decided to join today because you can always learn something, even though I got 3 other things I'm trying to work on right now. So including training for the upcoming AG and pre-pets. So looking for a good time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks for taking the time out. Anita.
Hello there. I am Anita Daniels from District, oh gee, I don't have to tell you that, from the Rotary Club of Grass Valley. I've been in Rotary since 1994, past president, past AG, great positions to be in, and district governor-elect. Glad to be here just to see what's going to happen with this leadership training and how beneficial it will be for our members. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Kathleen Schaefer. And you're muted.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on and come back to Kathleen when I see her micro. There she goes. She's on.
My club is Grass Valley. That's where I met Anita. And time in Rotary, I believe, is 16 years. And I chose to come or to attend this today. Just, you can always use ideas. And I'm always anxious to hear what people have to say, what they're thinking. And you never know, it may be something you want to incorporate in your own leadership strategies. So that's why I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Jim, Marin?
Hi, Jim Maroon with the Pollock Pines Camino Rotary Club. I've been with Rotary, I believe, for about 4 or 5 years now, past president of our club. I just showed up because I've got the time. I can barely ever get to our regular club meetings because they're at like 8 a.m. I got really weird sleep habits and it's difficult to make them, but this was at a right time. And I just want to sit and listen and see what I can take away from this and just commune with my fellow Rotarians.
Perfect. Thanks so much. In the time of makeups, this would have been a great makeup, wouldn't it? Kathy Wilcox Barnes.
Hi, I'm Kathy Wilcox Barnes, Rotary Club of Nevada City, and I've been in Rotary 16 or 17 years. And I was really excited when I got the flyer about this, because I think we're really only as strong as our leadership, and leadership is so important. So thank you for putting this on.
Thanks for joining us. Judy Clark.
Good morning, everyone. Judy Clark, Rotary Club of Sparks. I've been in Rotary, same club, for 22 years. And I'm here this morning because I'm always eager to learn new things and better myself. So thank you for having this.
Thank you so much, Judy. Pam Frazier.
Hi, I'm Pam Frazier, charter member of Auburn Sunset Rotary. That was started 5 years ago. And I chose to join you today because I am president-elect for 2022 to 23.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Grace Nichols.
Good morning. Sorry, I had internet problems and I dropped for the last few minutes. Are we doing introductions?
We are doing introductions. We'd like your name, your club, your time in Rotary, and why you chose to join us today.
So I'm Grace Nichols. I'm with the big downtown Rotary Club of Reno. I have also belonged to the small Rotary Club in Sisters, Oregon. And I'm here today because I'm interested in the topic of leadership, not only for Rotary, but just life and other projects as well.
Wow, Grace, you said Sisters, Oregon. Do you know John Bushnell?
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk later then. Thank you. Okay, and Robin Milam?
I think Robin had to drop off.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll hold her for later. Perfect. All right, so before we get started, Berta, I need to give you an opportunity to do your welcome.
I will. So welcome, everyone. I am thrilled to get this program, if you will. I don't know what to call it, but these conversations about leadership started. Gail and I are, it's a topic that we're both interested. As you probably know, I'm Berta Pickett, District Governor for this year. My club is the Rotary Club of Amador Upcountry in Amador County, California. I've been in Rotary since 2002, so almost 19, it'll be in February, it'll be 19 years. And this is a topic that I'm passionate about. I believe that, first of all, in Rotary, all of us are leaders, and in one way or another, and that's part of what I want to talk about. But I think that our society, our country, our families, all of those provide opportunities for us to be leaders. And I think in some ways we need to show up differently, but in many ways it's the same thing. And I'll give a little hint to my belief system is that leadership is about stepping up into the strengths that you have, into the gifts that you have, and showing up with them in whatever environment or situation you're in. When you bring your gift forward, I think that everyone benefits. And that's what we need, is leaders who are willing to stand up and be seen. So that's a little preview. I'm here today. I'm thrilled. I'm welcoming all of you, and I hope many of you can join us for all of them or for some of them. And tell your friends and co-Rotarians about coming on board. We'd love to have as many as possible join us, because I think this is an important conversation to have, and we'll explore it further. So that's it. Back to you, Gail.
Thanks so much, Berta. And plus, it's just so fun to see these faces. I'm just tickled that some of you who we would have seen during the year at events, which obviously we didn't, we get to see you now. So that's a fun thing for us. So we're going to get started, and I mean, not that we haven't already started, but I'm just going to put this up here. I am president of my club because I missed a meeting, or whatever else. I would hazard to say that most of you who have been in, most of us have a pretty good tenure here. I'm going to say you've heard this and you've laughed about it, and people have laughed about it. And just right off the bat, I wonder if, before I say my little spiel about this, if there are any reactions to this. If you have something to say, and I see, so just raise your hand, and I am panning back and forth to see if anybody
Jim
has a comment.
Jim has
All right,
his
jump
hand
in. Okay. Jump in, Jim.
No, I was just agreeing. That was true for me. I came to a meeting and everybody was like, "Hey, how'd you like to be president?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." And yeah,
Wow.
boom.
Okay, and can I just ask, was it an okay experience?
It was a great experience. I loved it. I loved Rotary. I liked the fact that I was hanging out with a whole bunch of people that want to do good in the world. I do have leadership shortcomings, and they were pretty much hidden for most of it until there were some problems in the club, and I wasn't good at handling that. But it was my first time being in Rotary, and I didn't know how to do it, but we worked our way through it. And if I ever become a club president again, I'll be better prepared for issues like that. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was great.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Richard Forster raised his hand.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, with the miss a meeting. I know, yes, it happens, but organized clubs prepare for the future, and they prepare their leaders for the future. The first time I was president, we had a past president, a president, and they were looking for president-elect. And I think the main thing is you try and get your club in that mode of always having a succession plan. So I was ready, even though I wasn't a good Rotarian for the first 7 or 8 years I was in the club. I just didn't engage, and I wasn't trained very well. The second time, which is this year that I'm president, is because I raised my hand. We had some issues with medical illnesses of some of our members, including our president-elect. Somebody had to step up, and I don't want to see our club fall apart. So sometimes you have to take the initiative, and we have a good succession plan now with a president-elect, and we're already looking at a couple people for the next year. So it's building that initiative into people, and trying to show them that you can do it. have them have the training in place from prior years, they'll feel more more willing if they feel that confidence from having led things like a speech contest or foundation dinner. So get your members to step up to the plate.
So what I heard, Richard, in that I think is a really powerful one is that you, especially this time around, you saw a need and you stepped up and said, I'm willing to help out. I'm willing to be part of that. And I do think that that's part of what leadership is all about, is about stepping up. It's about willing to put yourself out there, even, and this may be true with you and others, even if you're not always well trained as you might want to have been, but having the training beforehand certainly takes away some of the anxieties and the, you know, not feeling quite prepared. But thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And,
Great.
yeah, I saw Kathy Wilcox Barnes first, and then Grace have their hands raised. So, Kathy, you're next.
Okay, I wanted to say, I think we've all probably heard this statement, but I really feel like it's shortchanging things, and that actually we should rephrase it to being the club president is really a blessing, and it really is a rewarding experience. And so it should be something rather than viewing it as, oh my gosh, you know, there's nobody else, so will you be president? We should really celebrate it and all positions of leadership.
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy. Well said.
Absolutely.
I
And-
mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, and Grace.
Yeah, just kind of, it seems like this conversation is trending a certain way, and I just want to agree with the way it's trending. And perhaps because I belong to a really big club, that yeah, our president-elect is always picked, and our next president, we're 2 layers back, have been identified. And I think that, again, what the people have said before me, that being a leader is an honor. And because what you learn being a leader in Rotary, you can use in your church or in your career or in your business or in your, I mean, it's a leadership training opportunity. And I would have assumed that clubs have to identify their president-elect 6 months out to up the chain. Is that right?
Well, they're supposed to. In fact,
Right, that's the best of all possible worlds.
yeah, we asked them to. You know, I like to go back to what they say at RILA and at Regal, and that is, I get to be president of my club, right? It's changing that perception of, oh, I have to, or I missed a meeting, so I have to do this. But I get to do it. It is a blessing. It is an honor. And we have an opportunity to learn from it. And you're not in it alone. I think that's the other thing is leadership, if done right, is not, you're not alone in it.
Thanks.
Here.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say, this is
Oh.
probably not,
Hold on just a second, Gail. I see Kathleen has a comment to add.
okay.
Kathleen, you're on.
There. Okay.
There we go.
I have just been amazed during this pandemic how the club just came together. There were the Zoom, the prospect of being in a Zoom meeting. Just I thought, oh, this won't last. But we came together, and it was. It's been a good experience. And I think the people in the club that held together, they all showed leadership, that we need to do this. We need to keep the club going and positive, and we did it. And I've kind of gotten used now to being able to be at a meeting and have on my pajama bottoms because you can't see me from the top. And it's just, I was just talking to another member and they said, well, the fellowship is lacking, but it's really admirable the way we've hung together. And so when I see this sign, it's kind of like a negative thing, but then I feel like, well, if you put your mind to something, of course, you can do it. And I think we've done that. And I'm sure all the other clubs, you know, have done it. But that just reminds me of, back when we were, let's get on the Zoom and, oh, this is going to be difficult. Well, no, it wasn't. And we've been quite successful with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Great.
And Gail, I'd like to add to that too, is that I think what you just mentioned right there, Kathleen, is that it's not just about the president being the leader, right? Everybody in the club stepped up and jumped in and said, what can we do? How can we help? And when that happens, everybody benefits. And that's what I love to see. And I think what I've seen as I've visited the various clubs is that where you have people jumping in like that and being willing to step up as leaders, even without a title, just, in sharing their gifts and helping out, those clubs are thriving, and we have a lot of them across our district.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, one more. I see Judy Clark's hands raised. Judy? You have to unmute. You went from visible to invisible, and we can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. I
There you
screwed up. About jumping in last year, our club lost our president after the first month. And boy, talk about, everybody jumped in, and everybody took turns running the meeting. I mean, our club really thrived when we lost our president. I mean, it really pulled together, and it always does. So any presidents up there, your club won't let you fail.
Nice, Judy. Thanks. So the reason I put the little, negative sign up here is, you may be surprised to hear this, but at One Pets, which for people who don't know is President-elect Training Seminar, the presidents were asked what their goal was for their year. And more than half of them at that particular Pets said, I don't want to fail the club on my watch. So it sort of speaks to what Judy just said. Yes, we have, the ability to step up, but there is a lot of pressure for someone who has raised their hand. And in the other hand, it's kind of a low standard of leadership, just not wanting to fail. We really want our clubs to be the best they can. We want to excel. So over the next 5 months, we want to talk about that culture of leadership. So many things you have already mentioned, a culture that can attract members, help clubs run more smoothly. The person who mentioned, in any facet of your life, church, work, service clubs, the leadership that we talk about in Rotary, it translates into all parts of our lives. And you've already shown that by choosing to be a part of this conversation. So we're going to jump right now into the next part of this, which is we're just going to start having a conversation definition around leadership. So not just pertaining to Rotary, and considering, as we've already mentioned, that different people lead in different ways. What are some of the common characteristics of a good leader? I'm going to just start out by saying I've heard many already, but I'm going to pick on Jim and just say that he took a situation that was maybe not the best of all possible worlds. It sounds like he came out pretty positive with some learned experiences. And so I'm going to just say that flexibility is the first characteristic we're going to put on our list. We've heard that today. And then I'd like to just, again, run down, because it's easier than you all raising your hands, and hope that we can do this quickly, but just give me a word that describes a good leader to you, and we'll go through a couple times if we need to. So Kathleen Schaefer.
A leader is one who listens.
Listens. Oh, that's great. Okay, thanks. Pam Frazier.
Responding the-
Pam, we couldn't hear you.
responding to member strengths.
Thank you.
Responding to member strengths. Okay. Jim?
Yeah, real quick clarification. Mine wasn't a bad experience. Mine was like when I replied, I was like a sense of humor. I mean, I showed up at the meetings and they were like, hey, would you like to
Yes.
be club elect? And I was like, sure. So there was a good process. I was supported. That being said, real leaders for me, I like how they make you feel appreciated, genuinely appreciated. I think that's an incredible feature of a person to do.
Thank you so much. Kathy Wilcox Barnes?
Having good core values and sticking with them.
Ooh, very nice. Okay. And Anita?
Yes, I would say what Kathleen said is probably the most important, and that's listening and good communication.
Good communication. Okay, so both ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Richard Forster.
Can I give you two?
Sure. We'll let you do that.
Okay, you better be organized. So organization. And the other one, I would say a two-worder is delegate appropriately.
Okay.
You can't do it alone.
Nope. And I think we've heard that, haven't we? So, okay, let me see. Grace Nichols.
I would say a good listener, but also a builder of cohesion. So if everybody's asking for a different flavor of ice cream, a good leader helps the club come together and pick a choice that almost everybody can be happy with.
Nice. Thank you. Judy Clark.
Boy, by the time it gets to me, they've all been said that I could think of. My first one came to listening and then delegation are my top two.
Okay, listening is getting a big support here. And let's see, I think I got everybody. Anybody else have additional ones they want to add? Now you can raise your hand if you'd like, and Berta will help me with that. Keep track of it.
Okay, so far up, Kathy Wilcox Barnes, raised her hand.
An encourager.
Nice.
Good.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Got one more, Gail.
Go ahead, Richard.
Patience.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah, that is a good one.
that is a good one. Kathy's got her hand, or is that the old raised hand? Okay. Kathy, did you have another one?
Are you talking to Kathleen?
No, I'm sorry, Kathy Wilcox Barnes.
I do
no.
have one though, so if you can come back. to
Okay,
me.
go ahead. No, just say it.
Okay. I can't exactly put this in one word, but and maybe someone set the example. Your leadership style should be, what your members want to emulate, and they want to follow you because of the pattern that you're setting as a leader.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Berta's gonna love that. That's one of her topics later in this
Okay.
session. So later in the year.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm kind of scrolling through to see if I see any other hands raised.
Okay, so I'm just going to read these back. Flexibility, listens, lots of support for listens, responding to member strengths, appreciative, good core values and sticking with them, organization, delegate appropriately, builder of cohesion, encourager, patience, set the example.
And you left off good communication.
Yeah, I did, because I only wrote good and I couldn't remember what that word was. So.
That's good communication.
So, I'm just going to share with you, I in another session where I did this exercise, a couple of the things that we didn't mention, I'll just throw out there. You got almost all of them, but honesty, confidence, creativity, ability to inspire. But that's just, you know, a few more. I think they fit in these categories we have. So our next question is a follow-up to this. Unless, does anybody have anything else they want to say about this, about the characteristics of a good leader? Or we'll move on. Let's see, I'm going to do a time check here. It's 10:36. We're going to stop at 10:55 in case people need to move on. So we have about 20 minutes left. And we're about halfway through what we propose to talk about. So, okay, so thinking about the characteristics of a good leader, would your list differ, be augmented, change in any way for leaders in different fields? So we were talking about leaders in general, and we all have experience with that, but Rotary is a service organization, which has some different characteristics. People are in education, corporate organizations, churches. So would you see any difference? And if so, what would that difference be? And just raise your hand. Richard.
You know, in general, but especially in the environment we've been living in politically, and I think it's more important for Rotary than any place else, is we need to be very careful in how we let the political influence come into our clubs. I have members who are conservative, I have members who are liberal. Those two areas clash, and they clash heavily in Rotary. So we try to keep that, and we make it very clear to our members, we're not about politics. We're about doing good for our community. And I think if you really stress that message, people get it.
Thank you. Yes. Grace.
I think the one distinction is if you're a leader of a volunteer group or if you're a leader in a for-profit corporation, because when you're the second situation, you know, you can say, do this or you're going to get demoted or fired or, you know, but if you're trying to, but in a service organization or one where people are not being paid, you have to look to other tools to get people to do things that maybe they don't want to or they're not agreeing with or for whatever.
So I think that leads to a good question of how do you lead people in a service organization, or I don't know, even in a family sometimes when maybe you can't just say, go do it. You can say it, but it's not necessarily someone's going to just jump and do it. How do you inspire, encourage, engage people to do what you've asked them to do? What are some of the skills that are required to make that happen?
Kathy Wilcox Barnes.
I think one of the things is you have to be willing to do it yourself also, to show them that, you know, you're not just dumping something on them, that it's something you would be willing to also do.
So setting the example, that's perfect. Grace?
I was going to say, starting with shared vision, you know, we've
Oops.
agreed that the main project.
Okay, we have to wait a second, Grace. Grace?
Yeah.
Grace, could you start over because you were frozen and we missed the beginning of your talk?
Sure. I was going to say, I think that one way to avoid that
Okay,
problem
Grace is having some.
No, I think it's you, Gail, because I could hear it completely.
Oh, it's me. Okay, sorry. Okay, then I'll back off. Go ahead, Grace. My apologies.
I can put it on chat. You never know. But anyway, my point is starting with shared vision. If our club's decided that our main project for the year is X, or our main goal or our word for the year, whatever it is, shared vision, and then coming back to shared vision. But that takes leadership because you took the time to put a shared vision together with your board to begin with.
Absolutely. And that's, you've touched on a topic that's near and dear to Gail's heart as well, because as you probably all know, or if you don't, Gail is also our district's visioning chair. And so within Rotary, we have a great tool available to us through that visioning process, which is actually exactly what that creates, is the shared vision for your club if you're doing that. And whether it's with Rotary or anything else, having a shared vision is really important. Can I tell a story, Gail, for just a sec?
Go for it.
I worked for Sprint, a telecommunications company, for many years. And when I finally left the company, I was doing some consulting, and I went to work, believe it or not, for MCI, which was another telecommunications company. And we were in a smaller group. It wasn't the whole corporation, it was just one of the departments. And I said, well, we need to link our vision to the corporate vision. And when we went to the corporate headquarters, they did not have a shared vision at the top of the organization. And I thought that was so fascinating. And of course, MCI doesn't even exist today. But that's the power of shared vision, is it keeps everybody on board looking in the same direction. So thanks.
And I would just offer that one, and then I see your hand, Richard, I'll be right with you. That one of the things that gets a little bit different when we're talking about different areas is knowledge. So one of the ways that we increase our ability as leaders is knowledge and training, which we think that this district does a fairly good job of training. And we also believe that that training helps you in other areas outside of Rotary. But within Rotary, it's really important to know Rotary. It's important to, somebody mentioned core values, to know what the core values of Rotary are, to know what makes our people happy. They like fellowship, they like good leaders. So anyway, I just throw out there that that's another characteristic that's a little different from just general leadership, is you got to have the knowledge of the space that you're in. Richard, please go ahead.
In a lot of ways, it's easier for Rotary. We're kind of viewed as the good guys and gals. We've got a good track record, both in what we do on the ground and financially. So it's easier for us to get our foot in the door. And also it's easier for us to ask people, would you like to collaborate on something, whether it be another group, a corporation, education. When we propose it, it just seems to be a lot easier road for us to go down.
Why do you think that might be, Richard?
Well, just people look at what we've done in the past, the projects we've done in our local communities. People see the pride that we have, but the pride we create in our communities. And they know when Rotary steps up that they're going to do something and do it right.
So we've built a reputation as well, which it's then up to us to uphold that reputation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add too, it's important, the shared vision and working together, but as you get into projects, keep your eyes and ears open and make sure that everybody's still in the wagon and nobody's jumped off, and just keep abreast of how everybody's feeling as you go along.
Yeah,
Right.
checking in and making sure you don't need to see if you have to change direction slightly or modify the course in some way. Yeah.
Okay, Berta, did you have anything you wanted to wrap this segment up with? We have one more section.
We have one more section to go. I just, so, we're trying to keep this both about Rotary in general, about leadership in general, but also obviously all of us are Rotarians. So one question might be are there things that you see just in your experience with Rotary that would make our Rotary leaders more effective? And
It looks like we're very effective, Berta.
yeah, I do want to point out that Anita did put something in the comments section in the chat that leaders should be team players, and absolutely true. If you don't have, and that goes back to willing to do it yourself, if you don't feel like the leader's willing to get their hands dirty, it's like, well, why should we? So everybody needs to be in the same playground.
Kathy Wilcox Barnes.
I just want to say on this particular topic before we leave it, one difference in Rotary or service organizations versus if you were in, say, for instance, government, our leaders have more ability to be creative and do other things. When you're in government or something like that, you have specific things you're charged with doing and have to follow sometimes. So we have a lot more leeway and creativity available to us as leaders in Rotary.
That's true.
Yeah, I love that. Such a positive thing. Okay, do I see any other hands? I don't see any other hands, so we're just gonna move along to this. This is kind of the last question because we want to have time for just a little open chat for 5 minutes. So this is just, we throw this out here. There are different kinds of leadership. We'd like to sort of know what you think about that. What kind of leadership are you familiar with? There are some that have some negative connotations. That's okay, because they are different types of leaders. So, and then maybe we'll do a really quick, which do you prefer? So in this, I'm just going to say, I'm going to take a chance here and just say, shout out a type of leadership and see if I can capture it.
Decisive.
Decisive or indecisive?
Decisive.
Okay, thank you.
Decisive.
Got it. Okay. Anybody?
Can I just make one sort of snarky comment that today of all days, it's a very funny question to ask. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, no, I think it's a good point, and we have two different types of leaders, and every leader type
That's a style. Yeah.
pros and cons to their type, right? So you're absolutely right on. We have a new leader coming in who has a different style than the old leader. It's very true.
Okay, anybody else?
I see Kathy, is your hand raised a second time?
Go ahead.
Yes, authoritarian.
Thank you. Yep, was looking for that. Okay, what else? Okay, so I'm just going to make a couple of suggestions here. Laissez-faire. So you have passive leaders. I think we've all experienced them. I'm going to say also collaborative. And then finally, I'm going to throw out there, because this is a hot button of mine, servant leaders. Berta, you want to jump in with anything?
I think I want to reiterate that I think one of the things that holds people back from stepping up into a leadership role is that sometimes people perceive that there's only one type of leader. And I think that the reality is that there are many types of leaders, and that they all can bring something positive to the forefront. And there's different times when a different style is needed depending on the circumstances of the environment that you're in. And so I would say that almost anyone can step into leadership and step up to leadership based on who you are. You don't have to be somebody else. You can be yourself. That said, I think we could get, and in one of our future topics, I know we want to get more into what servant leadership is, but I'd love to hear anybody other comments about the different types of leadership and what they prefer. Who do you prefer to work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's great. Let us know that right now. What's your preferable style that you would like to work with? as a leader, or, being led, I guess is the question.
I see
Kathy.
Kathy's hands again.
This follows kind of what Berta says, but I remember listening to someone one time in the topic, they said, follow me, I'm right behind you. And I think that is, what we need to be, leading and also helping from the rear. So I really I like that approach.
Nice, thank you. Richard?
Well, I had to look up leadership skills on my Google real fast because I fit a lot of different areas. I think transformational is probably the best kind of leader because they tend to work with people well, delegate, be nice to people. But then again, I think a good leader has to be an authoritarian leader once in a while, because ultimately as the president, it is going to come down to you and your year as president. And sometimes you have to push for a position stronger to make that happen.
Can I add to that? That's why I prefer the word decisive. It's not as strong as authoritarian, but I like that kind of person who includes everybody, but at some point you got to decide what you're going to do. And I've seen people just flounder when, it was obvious, let's make a decision and move on. So I think that you have to be able to see that and realize, okay, the group is with me, so this is what we're going to do. So.
Great. Thank you. Grace?
I just wanted to point out that leadership looks different. The same style can look different depending upon what kind of package it's in. And I mean, remember before women were even allowed into Rotary, and then over the years women have bubbled up through leadership. And now we need to work twice as hard to get people of diversity bubbling up through membership and leadership. But that's another thing that we have to consider is how it can look different in different packages, and helping former leaders and current members to not only feel comfortable, but to welcome the variety.
What a great point. Thank you, Grace.
I'd like to even just add to that and just say, having my father having been in Rotary back way before I was, and back in the day when it was just men, the women were called Rotarians, and then later there became an Interact Club. But what I saw, just even as a young girl, is even though the women weren't allowed in the club, guess who was doing a lot of the work behind the scenes? So interestingly enough, that's part of how they emerged in terms of their leadership, is they did what needed to be done, and maybe not all of them voluntarily, but but I think some of them did. And thankfully, we've been able to get into there and experience more of that diversity. I agree.
Okay, so it is 10:54, and we made a commitment to you that we were going to let you go at 10:55. I'm just going to say, wow, has this gone fast? I think we're going to hold our food for thought questions to start off our next session. So I'll just put them up here to give you a chance to think about them, because I think this would be a great way to start off next time. I want to thank you all for doing this. I hope you think it went as fast as I think it went. Time just zoomed by. And we are looking forward to the next session. I'm going to let Berta tell you when that is, because I don't have that right in front of me. Do you have that, Berta?
Well, I'm pulling it up as we speak so I can minimize the screen there.
Perfect.
And Gail has to get off because she is moving on to a doctor's appointment for her husband, but I'm going to be staying on. So if there's any last minute comments or questions, feel free, or anything that you want to add into the chat, feel free to do that. And the next
again. Bye.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
The next leadership call will be Wednesday, February 10th at 5:30 p.m. So we're moving, it's going to be the same day of the week, but we're going to do an late afternoon, 5:30 p.m. on February 10th is our next Paul. So I'm going back to here.
So these, we could plan on that these are only 1 hour, correct?
Yes.
Great.
We're going to try to keep it 55 minutes so that you have time to get off and go to the bathroom, grab a cup of coffee before your next whatever. So as we
Okay.
recognize, we're all back to back these days in a lot of things. But anything else you want to add into the chat or any questions or comments you have? I'm staying on for as long as anyone else is still on the call. So I really thank you all for helping us to kick this off. We want this to be something ongoing as we go throughout this year, but also next year into Anita's year. Anita has appointed me as the leadership chair for next year. So Gail is at this year, and I'm going to follow in her footsteps as we move into Anita's governorship. And so we're going to be looking for your ideas and comments and suggestions of what to do. So anything else that you have for today?
It's great.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I'm
Berta.
with you, Grace. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm just so appreciative to all of you. And you, by coming here today, showed up as leaders. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
See you
soon.
next time.
Anita,
Bye-bye.
Anita,
Yes, dear. Yes,
can I
Kathleen.
call you today?
Yes.
Do you have time? Oh, good. Thank you.
I do. I have a Zoom call right now, and then
Okay.
afternoon I'm free.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Thank you,
I'm
Berta.
turning off the recording now to all of you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you all. And hold on just a second.